Many athletes and coaches around the sports world have opened up about their feelings about Donald Trump winning the presidency of the United States. Now, while the headlines are dominated by those who are opposed to Donald Trump being the president of the United States, there is still, of course, 58 million people voted for Donald Trump, which means there is more than we think who came out in support. Quickly, I'll start with those who supported Donald Trump. Bill Belichick wrote a letter that was read by Donald Trump, I believe 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And in part of that letter, he was saying that it's a good friend of his and all that. And then Bill Belichick did mention about a week after that he doesn't agree with all of the policies, but he's a friend and he voted for a friend. Jay Cutler, Trump. John Daly also came out in favor of supporting Trump, like many did when we didn't realize that they're, of course, based on the numbers, yes, 58 million people. So it's not a small number. Now, to the side where is getting picked up, where the headlines are being dominated for, are those that came out against Donald Trump being the president as president of the United States, and we're kind of shocked. The one video I have for you that we can show you live comes from Steve Kerr. I think the audience knows my feelings on Steve Kerr. I think they know Jayar's feelings on Steve Kerr.
You hate him, right?
I can't stand the man. No, I believe Steve Kerr is one of the most intelligent head coaches in the NBA, and comes from a family of extremely intelligent, scholar-esque people. Here's Steve Kerr's thoughts on when Trump was elected president.
Maybe we should have seen it coming over the last 10 years. You know, you look at society, you look at what's popular. You know, people are getting paid millions of dollars to go on TV and scream at each other, whether it's in sports or politics or entertainment. And I guess it was only a matter of time before it spilled into politics. But you know, Trump would make a crack at Clinton, and you'd hear the fans, the stands, ooh, like, ooh, no, he didn't, yo. Like, yeah, he did. Yeah, this is a presidential election. It's not the Jerry Springer show. So I'm sorry. This is my rant. I'm disappointed in the lack of respect and dignity that's involved, and it's the way it goes.
So in addition to that, we had Stan Van Gundy, who went into his press conference, but we don't have video of that, but in his statement, he was devastated by the racist remarks, the misogynistic remarks that Trump won off of, or partly won the presidency off of. I don't want to say entirely off of that. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be fair. Jayar, you've been following, obviously, this election for 2 years in the running, and everything from back to the primaries all the way to the election day itself, and did, of course, a fantastic job. I say that because I work with you every day, so if I say anything else, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
My big thing with
Your
this
back is to me when we're working, so you're very vulnerable.
I am very, very vulnerable. But Jayar also has the biggest monitor in the entire office, so you can't see past it. So I think I am safe.
I'm going to build a big, beautiful monitor to where no one can get around it except for me.
There's a Silicon Valley episode, by the way, that has to do with that. The whole point of The Office is they want the biggest monitor. I'm like, I know that person in my office, and he comes on TYT Sports all the time. I guess my big point here is, like, what's your reaction to all of this from the coaches and the players?
I guess you're not surprised, but I think Belichick had to come out and kind of, I don't know if it was explain himself or just clarify his point. We talked about Jay Cutler. Rex Ryan was one of the other guys. I think he introduced, and also when Mitt Romney ran, John Elway came out and introduced him at one of his rallies, and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe John Elway. So, just like in the sports world, I talk about this when we talk about police violence and brutality and things like that. They're just citizens because they're well known, and like Hollywood types. There's this assumption that all Hollywood folks are super libs, only want Democrats in office, and are even more lib than Democrats. There's plenty of conservatives in Hollywood. There's plenty of discriminatory people and racist people in Hollywood. It's across our entire spectrum of citizenry. So things like this, you're interested to hear because you're like, which ones, let's pick it out. And also in the sports world in particular, it's such a team-based mindset. Like, I hate that guy, I love this guy, based on just, I live in this city versus that city. Right. Or this team beat my team last year. Or I can't believe that guy left my city and went to this city. So it's already fraught with all of this anger, and it's surface hatred because we don't really take it seriously unless you get drunk and go to the game and see someone with the wrong jersey on and you beat their ass. That's where it gets out of control and people go, it's just sports, you guys, calm down. Now that the sports world is mixing into talking about politics, it's probably one of the reasons that it's a good idea not to, because there's already this level of, I don't like that guy. I don't like Bill Belichick, but I think he's one of the best coaches of all time.
Right.
I don't like him because I don't like his demeanor. So I joke all the time about how much I hate the Patriots. I've never thought, they're not a good team, because I think that's a bad thought process. So when
entertainment is what it's called.
Yeah,
but yes.
yeah. And once you get into this kind of talk, it's dangerous because people will really hate you for it.
Yes.
When they already don't like it. So it's brave, no matter which side you come out on, to show your leanings.
I agree with that 100%. And the one thing that it's like I've seen from my own family is we're split. Inside my own family, and the one thing that I've learned, at least over the last like 2-3 days, is for one, being more politically aware, but not just that. I live in a bubble. I live in a bubble here in Los Angeles. I think this is needed to be said because it's not the same everywhere else like it is in Los Angeles. And by the way, if I was in New York and LA, we share the same exact bubble. There might be 3,000 miles between us, but it's the same bubble. It's just a big bubble. And unfortunately, it's not the way it works everywhere else is exactly where I am. It's actually a slightly ignorant point of view to think that, and I unfortunately was under that spell, I would say. I say that because I am very fortunate to be surrounded by, at least in my workplace, like-minded individuals, but educated individuals and people that are creative and inspire me and all that stuff. But I want to go now at this point in my life to other parts of our country to get an understanding because obviously it's not like it is in LA everywhere else, or New York, or Chicago. Right. There's other places here that are not in our country. Well, in the city. And to the point of like the sports world is, you nailed it right on the head. Tom Brady is a citizen of the United States. He has one vote. But some people think because Tom Brady, that I should, because I love Tom Brady, the quarterback. It's different. You have to be able to split. Politics and sports will always intersect. And I say that, I've always said it because of Jackie Robinson in baseball. It's like the most clear-cut example, clear-cut and dry example of politics and sports. But
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown, there's a million examples of it, but the sports pulling their events out of North Carolina because of the bill that was passed there. So it's sad. You can't believe that sports and politics shouldn't intersect. They do. It's just a matter of how you have those conversations.
And usually, also when people come out and have their points of view, one of the knee-jerk reactions is keep playing ball and stop talking.
Right.
Like you don't deserve to talk because you're an athlete.
You deserve the same right as the guy next to you who doesn't play ball.
Absolutely, but they just don't want to hear it because like this is my escape. But there's a lot of this is still just everyone's life, which we're going to talk about also as well, the NBA on TNT guys.
Yeah, let's get to that.
It was a bit surprising that they spoke for so long about it, but they're just citizens of the country.
Right, so we can throw to some of these videos. We don't have them, but there's a little compilation we'll make for you. We'll throw to it now, and it's going to start with Charles Barkley, move to Kenny Smith, Shaq, and then lastly Ernie Johnson.
Kind of shell-shocked, to be honest with you, the last 48 hours with Mr. Trump becoming the president. I was in shock. I'm not going to lie. I was totally surprised at the election results. That being said, we got to move on. I was disappointed because my candidate didn't win, number one. But like I say, it's over now.
The thing is that you just can't be naive to think that anybody who voted for him is a racist or narcissist or anything other, or any kind of ism. But you still have to acknowledge that he made so many of those misogynistic, racist remarks and narcissistic remarks. So you have to acknowledge that.
I'm 45 years old, and the world is more divided now than it's ever been. There's a lot of stuff going on.
When this campaign season started, I felt like I'd been dealt a bad hand. I had these couple of choices, and there were trust issues with Hillary Clinton I couldn't get past. And there was this inflammatory rhetoric from Donald Trump, which to me was incomprehensible and indefensible. I couldn't vote for either one. For the first time in going to the polls for 42 years, I hit the write-in button, and I voted for John Kasich.
So as you can see from the video, Barkley was the first to do it. He started to speak. And it's funny because all four of them said, like, I know we're not supposed to share our thoughts on this. It's supposed to be about basketball, but no producer said cut, and they just went.
It's one of the good things about that show. It's why it gets the praise it does is because it's a natural show. It's one of the few as natural as you can get shows on television, especially when it's circled around sports, and especially sports recap things, because everything is planned. You have to make sure this fits here, and then you have a coherent point so that people can get what's happening.
Right.
The fact they let them kind of flow is dangerous.
Yes. Well, yes, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know if it will get out of hand. You don't know that kind of thing. But they've proven that they can.
And no one's gotten fired for saying something on air that offended or broke some guidelines.
I also wanted to bring up J.R. Smith's post that he made the day after Election Day, 2 days ago, where he took a picture of his daughter in front of the White House, and he said, this is from Team Swish, which is J.R. Smith's Instagram account. How do you explain to this face what happened? You can be educated woman in your field and not get the job because you're a woman or because you're black, ? How do you say go try your best even though it won't be good enough? How do I even feel confident sending her on her play dates knowing that the kid's family voted for the racist, sexist person, and I don't know how they will treat her when she's gone? How? Seriously, how? I understand let go and let God, but damn. So he was frustrated, obviously, and he made that post. I think this is an important note to make for any clip that's done. 58 million people, again, voted for Donald Trump to be president. That does not mean 58 million people in this country are racist, misogynistic, sexist people. You're entitled to your political opinion. You're entitled to your views, and your vote does count. And the one thing that drives me madder than anybody else is 46.9% of eligible voters didn't. But I know for a fact 100% of people have their opinions.
Yep.
So put your opinion.
It's easy to say something.
It is.
It's a little bit harder to vote.
It's free. Takes a minute and 40 seconds to register, and if you don't live in a big city, about 45 minutes of line.
And there's a whole bunch of other factors that came in mind. There was disenfranchisement as far as shutting down polling places in certain areas. You might be able to guess which areas those are. So things like that happen, or then redistricting, making sure that you're in a certain area where your vote doesn't count as much or wouldn't go where they would expect it to go. All these things happens across the political spectrum. So then there's all these deep parts about that, but it always ends in the fact that you have to continue to be active, and it's hard to do a lot of times, which is, again, when you're talking about sports, people don't want that part to cross over because they're like, stop thinking, I don't want you to think. Now, when we talk about, I want to bring up the Stan Van Gundy thing again, because when it's surprising for coaches to not be as empathetic or understand where players like maybe J.R. Smith are coming from. There's a lot of minority athletes. We know this. Football, basketball.
NBA especially.
Right, NBA especially. So a lot of times when people have negative thoughts or ignorant thoughts about other groups of people, it's because they actually have never met. There's still people in this country, believe it or not, who have never physically met a black person in their life. They've seen them at an airport, and they were 50 feet away, and they kind of walked in a circle and said, whoa. It's like an alien. So I'm not lying to you, it still happens. So when you don't know the type of person that you see a certain candidate talking about, same with Muslims and all this, that you have less of a chance to really connect and understand who they are. So when you get coaches like Stan Van Gundy or anybody else who works with a lot of these players, they have an understanding of who they are, so then therefore you probably have less of a reason to be afraid of them, which, let's be honest, this campaign was run in fear and anger and hatred. It was. And when you have those things, if you don't know who those people are that you are fearing, who you're hating, and who you're bigoted towards, that's just bottom line. So the reason he had such an impassioned direction in his speech about it is because he felt a connection to it. When there was the gay rights legislation was going through, or just votes on that were happening, a lot of people didn't really accept that they knew a gay person. And when they may have horrible things to say, once they find, oh, my son is gay, they're like, but I love him. And now you have a wall in your head and you have to break it down or not accept it and continue to be hateful. And a lot of people accept the people that they love and they care about. So it's that type of thing. To interact more is going to help solve this. Yeah. But right now, there's a lot of anger, so these interactions are going to be very angry and very violent.
It's Stephen Colbert said it at the end of his election, actually the beginning of his election coverage after the president was announced, and he just said, I do believe by every metric we are more divided than we've ever been, but that doesn't mean, this is my point, that we can't fix that. We can become less divided. We can find ways to come together. There's many different ways to do that. The first door to that is just having an open mind. It doesn't cost anything, and it's very easy to do. Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the channel. We know some of you guys in the comment section aren't thrilled when we bring up the political stuff, but sometimes I personally at least feel that there's conversations that need to be had, even in the sportscape. J.R. Jackson joined me for it, and I thank him very much for that. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at J.R. Jackson. You can check him out in many different places, but usually, BYT Sports.
Tom Brady's back.
Tom Brady is back. Comment below.